Where there's a will, there's a way. Now, this quote encapsulates human striving. It encapsulates man's will to do, man's will to survive. And beyond this, it also encapsulates something that's beyond the basic necessity. It encapsulates man's striving to become a better version of himself, of inner development, spiritual development. Gurdjieff famously said that man cannot do. And he understood that 100 years ago, that man would be in a position where he would be more and more distracted and more unconscious. And that this would lead to a weakening of our willpower to do. That's why he said that everything that was done to man was done through him and not by him. And then Steiner stressed the importance of the three soul forces: thinking, feeling, and willing. And will, according to Steiner, was the hardest to penetrate. He likened this to being asleep. He said that our will could be likened to a form of sleep. And emotions, which were a little bit more conscious, were likened to a state of dreams. So we're aware of them, but not totally. And he said that our thinking was likened to waking consciousness, that we are only truly aware and conscious of our thoughts. And you can see this in yourself, right? Your will to do something. Why do you want to do something? We don't actually understand this at all. What we do understand is after the influence of a will, of our willing force, we have a mental representation of something that we want to do. Like, oh, I want to go on a hike. And we have this mental representation that we want to go do that thing. We want to go on this adventure. But between the impetus that created that striving to go do that and the mental representation, that process is entirely unconscious. Ever since the Industrial Revolution, man has been mechanizing more and more. He's been outsourcing his soul forces and willpower to the machine, right? With the Industrial Revolution, we developed the steam engine. And with the steam engine, it could output so much more physical labor than the human. And so we merged with the machine. Starting at that point, we started outsourcing our physical will to machines so that we can gain more in terms of a higher standard of living. And because we did that, this mechanization has continued throughout the ages, right? And now with AI and the internet, we're outsourcing our thinking force. So it started with will and now it's thinking. We don't think anymore. Anything that we have a question about, we just type it in and we get an answer. And a lot of times we take that answer at face value and believe it, right? We've all done it before. So what is next? Are our feelings going to be outsourced as the last soul force? I sure hope not. But this mechanization of our soul forces, this merging with the machines was always meant to be. So as our development into the earthly schooling, we had to materialize from spirit and descend into matter. And as we descended into matter, we reached the height of that when we created the machine, because we were already densified and materialized to such an extent that the only further mechanization and densification was that we would take what was in our heads and our souls and we would externalize it even further into the machine, this dead but highly mechanical and efficient output of what was inside us externalized. And this was always meant to be. And Gurdjieff and mystics like Steiner understood that we would have this problem, which is why they stressed us being mechanical, us being mechanized, us being automatic, not having willpower. Man won't have the willpower to perform any action that wasn't influenced by external circumstances. So they already stressed this at that point, right? And I've done a lot of studying on Gurdjieff and his exercises, and I would say a big principle to go by for his exercise is this. He wanted us to do, right? So he said that man was mechanical, that everything that happened to him was governed by external influences. So one exercise to do to combat this is to go against the grain. In this exercise, you have to take an example from your own life, but you basically do something that you would not normally do, or you do something that you normally avoid. In this way, you're setting an intention and you're going against what you would normally do as breaking, and this breaks that mechanical habit that we have from external circumstances. And so this breaking of mechanical habit is a form of doing, because we have to set the intention beforehand to not do this thing. And when we do it, we are slowly breaking that habit. And you want to do this as much as you can. And to start off, you just start off with one habit that you know that you have. And it could be a very simple habit. For example, like biting your nails or something. When you're doing it, you set the intention and you break the habit day by day. But make sure you do it. Make sure it's a habit that you do enough so that you can do it continuously. So this mechanization affects us in the deepest of ways. You know how when you have a bad habit or a bad pattern and you know that you shouldn't do something, but you still do it? This is a result of our weakened will. So we don't have the power to do things that we know we should do, even though we know that it's the best thing for us. And this all is a result of a misalignment of our soul forces. So in order to make the will stronger, we also align these three forces: thinking, feeling, and willing. And Rudolf Steiner gives exercises for all three. In my last video, I went over the thinking exercise, which is an exercise in concentration. So you do this concentration once a day. And he gives the second exercise for will in the book Soul Exercises. Once a day, you do something that you intentionally set for yourself that you would not normally do. For example, you've never owned a plant before, but now you do an intentional watering of a plant every day. So in this way, it's something that you would never have before done, but you do it every single day now. So you set the intention again, and you're forcing yourself through your will to perform this task daily. And it doesn't have to be super complicated. It could be a very simple task like watering a plant. But do this every day and do it at the same time every day. I also said that you should do concentration, exercising your thought, at the same time every day. You want to stack these two exercises throughout the day, but do them at different times. But do them every single day so that you start to develop a rhythm. And it's an intentional rhythm. You're forcing yourself through your own intention to go through this, and this slowly but surely puts your astral body into a rhythm, which is the astral body houses these three soul forces. So you put it in a sort of rhythm that slowly harmonizes them. And by harmonizing them, they come into a natural alignment. And through this natural alignment, you will be aware enough, you will have the consciousness and awareness to receive spiritual perceptions. And so if you want spiritual perceptions, it starts with really simple things that build up and align and harmonize and create this space for you to have the sensitivity to be able to perceive of things beyond the physical senses, right? But it starts with aligning soul forces first, which gives you consciousness, and this consciousness is then directed towards the supersensible. So there's 2 exercises. I want you to try these for about a week and see how you feel. See if you feel that you have more of a sense of intentional will, that you're able to maybe break habits that are a little bit harder to break, that you weren't able to do so before, right? And in this way, you align yourself and you develop more and more attention and awareness. Okay, that's it for this one. And I think in the next one, I'm going to give you an exercise for the feeling, which is a little bit more subjective. So the will and the concentration are very tactical and they're very easy to see in a routine, but the feeling exercise is a little bit more subjective.